name's Sahara, and I am a shamanic priestess. Today I want to celebrate with you a very special weekend. As a priestess, sacred timing is very important. This weekend is kind of unique, depending on if you live in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. Currently I'm living in the southern hemisphere in Ecuador, and I wanted to share that for us folks down here. It is the spring equinox weekend, very special weekend. So yesterday I experienced a shamanic journey with a powerful spiritual lesson and spiritual insights. And if you're living in the north, which would be above the equator all around the world, then it would be your autumn equinox. What's interesting to note about both of them is for you northerners, you've experienced summer and now moving into autumn. And summer is really about life, and autumn is about death or a shift of season. And for us southerners, we've just left winter and now moving into spring, so leaving death and moving into a rebirth. And during this weekend, it's very special timing that acknowledges that moment, that very small window where duality emerges, where it's no longer death or life, it's no longer life or death, it's somewhere in the middle. And it's this sacred, yummy space of divine timing between the celestial and the earth cycles coming together. Still a unique time in sharing the energies of that sort of window that I've talked about. And for me, I'm celebrating this for 3 days. So tomorrow is the full moon, which is interesting. It's a celestial timing around the celebration of all that we've manifested for ourselves in our personal life within the last month of September. So there's a couple sweet pieces to celebrate the death, the rebirth, and the celebration of our life, and to be grateful that whatever we did manifest, whatever we succeeded this month, that it's a time to just stop and smell the roses and just to enjoy what we manifested. So a quote that comes to mind of sort of the life lesson, the epitome of my experience yesterday, is if we go to an extreme or stay stagnant in our life, and they're both kind of different. If we go to extreme or we stay stagnant in our life, we could hurt ourselves and we could hurt others. That's the summary of my life lesson. So I had a vision of a kind of a grid of all these parts of creation coming together. Part of it is the divine feminine, the unmanifest, the divine masculine, the manifest. And together, when we explore that within ourselves, that duality, it's kind of interesting to really get to know each part by itself so we can kind of explore that relationship. So it's masterful as best as we can as we explore our life journey, just to really get that. And as men, you may want to explore the masculine more. As women, you may want to explore the feminine more. And there comes a point in our life where we get it as much as we can get it, and we know what resonates for us in that expression. And then there can be a time where we become very extreme with that. We could be extremely polarized one way or the other. So that could be a sign if there's negativity showing up in your life or in your inner world. It could be a sign that you've become way too extreme. And sometimes we think, oh, this is the perfect ideal life that I've created. So there's an extremeness about that belief system, that lifestyle. And at the other end of the scale, in being sort of so routine in that way, we could then sort of manifest the idea that we've become stagnant in our life. Like, yes, it's ideal because we've had all these life lessons bringing us to that point, but it could also be quite stagnant in the sense that we've got blinders on, we're avoiding the other half, the masculine or the feminine, and then we have mirrors in our life, extremely opposing archetypes in our life, family, friends that are showing up as opposites to remind us of balance. And at first we can be attracted to them, and then also we could be annoyed or angry or frustrated with them because they are reminding us of that polar opposite. So whether we become too extreme or too stagnant or both, that is the moment when we could hurt ourselves. So taking it back to ourselves could be really empowering because it's validating that, yes, we exist. This is our life. How could I be hurting myself? It could show up as emotional, where you feel irritated or any kind of negative emotion. You may feel depressed, anxiety, angry, bored. There could be all these various feelings within of that's a negative. And if you avoid that long enough, it could fester and manifest as health problems. There could be skin problems. There could be colon problems. There could be bladder problems, stomach problems. Or if it gets really out of hand, it could start affecting your organs. And these are all signs of avoiding balance. Now, if hurting yourself doesn't matter and there's a part of you that's got one foot out the door and you don't really like this world or your life, or it's not manifesting the way you want, perhaps you would be more inspired to look at how being very extreme or in this stagnant place, and you could have a lot of things going on the outside. No one would know that you're feeling stagnant on the inside. It could be your little secret, but you could feel that way. Or you could be doing a ton of change, but that change all the time could be a routine of your extreme perspective. So you're not getting enough R&R time or sleep or whatever. But as I mentioned earlier, if you don't care about hurting yourself, perhaps the other extreme of, well, this attitude, this lifestyle that we've settled into could actually hurt others. So, for example, if you're too much of a hermit, your family and friends never get a chance to see you. That's one way of being hurt. Or if you really believe that this is your life and you could do whatever you want, you can't possibly apologize to anyone for saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing that would be harmful to that relationship, then you are hurting others. You could also be extremely one-sided in your extreme point of view when you're having a conversation with anyone, your coworkers, your lover, your family, friends, and be so extreme that if they show one point of view that is either boring to you or perhaps very annoying, like you believe in every ounce of your being that the opposite is true. So instead of experiencing their medicine as a potential for you to consider, or just even loving the fact that this is important for them and be happy for them without trying to influence them that they're wrong and you're right, that could be another way that you're hurting the people in your life. So if you really don't care about people, then that would mean that you don't need to see anyone, you don't need to talk to anyone at the grocery store when you buy food, or if you're a total hermit, you don't ever need to email another person again or communicate on social media. Or for that matter, if you really don't care about people, you shouldn't even need to watch any videos online because you're still, in a way, interacting with people. So if you can see that there still is a relationship, that what meaning does your life have without some kind of mirroring on a level? And I just love the golden rule, which is do unto others as how you'd want it done to you. So it's like, how would that make you feel if someone was disrespectful, unkind, or hurtful to you? and you may be doing that, and if they want to talk about it, you don't want to hear about it. It's like talk to the hand. Then it's kind of a one-sided relationship. So most likely, if you're being very dominant, you're going to have a lot of submissive people in your life. But there's going to be at least one area in your life that shows up that's very domineering. And it could be around money, your home, or feeling obligated to go to family events, or something could show up that is mirroring that extreme opposite, that you have all this power, and yet there's certain areas in your life that you're completely powerless. So being consciously aware of that helps to kind of get a point of view that if you think you're immune to it, you're not really. But it's also nice to consider that when we are too extreme or too stagnant in life, that we could see that we are hurting ourselves and others, and both are valid, both of them. Because if you only live for others, then you are, in extreme feminine energy of giving. And if you're only in your masculine, which is you want to serve yourself, then you're also out of balance. And often we come together in partnership, whether lovers or friends or even co-workers of this dualistic opposite. And we're here to teach each other some form of balance. It helps to go back to the origin of our existence, which is the Divine Mother and the Divine Father wanted us so badly. They were having a moment of harmony with themselves and respecting their differences, and also feeling that attraction, that potential, that curiosity to come together in partnership to make love, and that you are the love child. You are the divine child that was birthed from that relationship. And no one in the universe is like you. And so you are a precious gift. And you are a gift of that duality. You are the gift of the creation of the masculine in form, in this animal form. But you also are a gift of the divine feminine, which is that potential of what you can become, that beauty of being. So you're not just a human doer, you are a human being. And a human being is a combination of the two. So the human, the hu is the sound of God, and the man is the animal, and the human is being. So there's a sense that we need to have these moments of rest. So yeah, we could rest when we go to sleep and rest when we're having a meal. But there's other times to rest, and when you fill up your cup, then you begin to desire to be creative, to play, to explore your passions, even to the extreme of pleasure. But we can go from one end to the other. We could rest so much and play and indulge in pleasure that we forget about work or taking care of our body or health, and fulfilling that creative passion, which is our gift from our divine parents. So we are at the center of this beauty and this beast, and in the center is our heart. But also I want to acknowledge the power chakra. In a way, there's a marriage there between our beautiful heart and our power chakra, which is, it controls the animal. And so together, when we meet in the middle of those two places, is a harmony of our divine will and our free will. So moving into divine will and free will is also that sacred balance of harmony. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this. As animals, we have this beast that's in form, and we have our ego that runs our body, which is the part of us that knows that we need to sleep and eat and rest and hunt for our food, which is work, and also that part of us that requires sex. So just the real basic, having shelter, having clothes on our back. These are the ego's responsibilities. And we have all these different archetypes running our life, and we need to be mindful of that balance we talked about earlier, that the ego is not just to run the whole show, but just those parts, those basic parts that are about our beast. So in that way, there's this creator, this masculine, the light is the manifested world. And then our heart, which, you know, loves this. This is the gift of life that we've been given, and to be thankful for that, to appreciate that. And we also have the feminine part, which is the life force energy. It's the invisible realm, and it's often easy to minimize it or ignore it because there isn't really any physical evidence. So it's important every day to do something really mellow to connect to that beauty, which it really, the best way would be a combination of prayer and meditation. Prayer is to share what we want and to give thanks for what we have. And also it's just to meditate on the part of our being, to connect to source and to feel the life force energy that's being fed through us with meditation. And I also like to add the elements of nature. So if you could do it outside or with the window open, you can experience your feet on the ground and air and maybe some sun, earth, air, fire, water, and have a glass of water is always helpful. I always have one nearby. It's just keeps me going, and it's the water of life. Cheers. There's nothing like good, clean water. So just to slow down and just to be is just wonderful. So there's two sort of areas that kind of move into that place in the middle of duality. And when we are wanting it all our way, we're not compromising. This is really ultimately a gift to feel better in our life, to feel good emotionally and physically, and to feel good spiritually and mentally, just a balance overall. So in a way, the feminine agreed to be manifested in the form. So with that comes the attitude of acceptance. I accept this challenge, even though at times it may feel difficult. And in the masculine point of view, the extreme masculine, about trying to have a relationship with the feminine, starting with ourself, and if we don't understand what that means, we could learn it through being around other women or men that are very feminine. So there's a sense of being controlled. So the masculine reins it in, controlled. And in that place of reining it in, there's a metaphor of you put the beast on a leash. You physically agree to that yourself. It's a decision that you make. And then in that place, you could feel a sense of peace. Because for the masculine, there's an intense experience of testosterone, which is this drive to take action and to do all the time, to conquer. And whether you're a woman or man experiencing that feeling, if you go too extreme on a daily basis, you will burn out your life force energy. You won't recharge. You're not experiencing enough feminine. So you put a leash on the beast, you control it, you rein it in, and from that place you feel a sense of peace and a sense of balance. In a way, as you control it, you're giving up, you're surrendering some of that, your power. You're not being power hungry. And as you give it up, then you're able to move more into surrender of the feminine. And in many ways, in order to really embrace the feminine, it is really about letting go of control and surrendering. And in that place, it's very scary. There is a kind of a dualistic kind of fear that needs to be faced. For the masculine, there's a fear of losing your identity, that you're going to perish and be nothing. And there's a sense of, I don't want to lose my identity. My identity is everything. But then you're just only being in love with the manifested world, and you're harming yourself and others. So you, in a way, have to get out of your head, because your head is in love with the thought that I'm going to lose my identity, therefore I can't surrender. So in a way, you need to move out of your thoughts and move up into more of your feelings, which is, what would the benefit be? Think about the benefit. Like, if I'm living really small and beauty is grand, it ultimately moves into that source field of all of life, everything, all, like, instead of all alone, it's all one. So there's I guess you need to be curious about the potential of what that would be, and to remind yourself of all the times you have surrendered in the past, that usually there was an opportunity for the flower to open up, and that there would be some kind of like a jewel inside, rather than feeling like, oh, it wasn't worth it. Because if it wasn't, then you would never care about being around another woman again, another female, or care about looking at beauty, flowers, or even beautiful women, whatever you might find beautiful. You wouldn't care about that. So there is a curiosity that might be pulling you in, and you're looking at it through the outside world. But I'm encouraging you to embody the flowers, the bees, the butterflies, embody that quality inside of you, so you could feel whole and complete, which brings an incredible sense of happiness and peace and tranquility, of feeling like you are enough. The feminine is a different piece altogether, where the masculine is afraid of losing its identity. The feminine life force energy is really in everything. And when you identify with the feminine, whether you're female or male, you may get the sense that you are one with all of life. And you can get that through prayer, meditation, just being out in nature at a beautiful park, or you just feel it on the inside. You feel a connection. And in many ways, you might downplay your life, your own personal existence. You may even feel that you're just an illusion. So there's a feeling of lack of self-worth, and that lack of self-worth is that you love and appreciate all of life, but you don't necessarily love and appreciate yourself as an individuated being. So that would be the extreme of the feminine and the masculine. And in a way, it is an initiation to cross over from one to the other and moving into the heart. And there is an element of that will moving into the heart. So to value your will, you wouldn't even be able to have an opinion that you might not like your own existence, because you couldn't even have that opinion unless you were created. So the masculine is so rebellious, it doesn't want anyone telling it what to do, because it is a sovereign, individuated being. And yet, if you're a very feminine person, you may want to get downloads, insights. You love it when you are being told by your soul or God or goddess or divinity to tell you what to do on a daily basis. You may be attracted to all kinds of belief systems and rituals to basically tell you how to be, because there may be a resistance to your own sovereignty and to activate your will. So I want to encourage you that maybe you wouldn't even have this ability to be so extreme had it not be for your own form. So just kind of look at that from an overview, that it's kind of like a bit of a lie, but it could be a feeling. And both parts, the masculine and feminine, may have a resistance to going to the other way. So there's a process to pass that resistance from the feminine to the masculine by loving, like all the times you love cute little animals, dogs, cats, or babies. You're giving that love to that other being, but you're not so much appreciating yourself. So there's a transference that happens. Part of it is being grateful to your divine mother and father, being grateful to your birth mother and your birth father that they gave you the gift of life. And there is an element of reverence, of gratitude, of appreciation that they gave this to you. And maybe they are older and they have some wisdom and some knowledge to share with you, even though that animal rebellious part says, I don't want to hear what you have to say and I know everything. There is a lack of respect and honor for that parent, whether they're the physical parents or the divine parents. And in a way, it's like you wouldn't even have the opportunity to be a rebellious animal had it not been that you were born out of love and out of beauty to be the animal beast that you are in these forms. So just kind of looking at your life cycle, that would help to go, oh, okay, well, and so, yeah, then there's a humbleness that happens. There's a surrendering of the pride. Even from the feminine point of view, there's this self-righteous pride that is an inverted part of the rejection of not wanting to cross over. So it all happens between our will and our heart, and then when we move them together, there's an element of surrender. So you may love one side or the other so much, the manifested or the unmanifested, that you swirl those parts together, and then you, in a sense, birth another divine child within. So you procreate that in yourself, and that becomes this glorious heart of feeling this wholeness, and it's really for you. So your divine child helps heal your wounded inner child by moving through a portal into your body that comes through, and then it's just sort of you become your own medicine, and it's absolutely beautiful. So to summarize, we need to stay connected to all these pieces that help us find balance, whether it's through the elements, or prayer, meditation, and also to kindness. Kindness really is the path, because if we're unkind to ourselves by being too extreme or stagnant, then we hurt ourselves and others. So kindness is the path to feel whole and healthy. And then we could share that kindness to our brothers and sisters in our life. And also there's the alchemy of this incredible energies that gives us the ability to be creative, because creativity really is the action of the divine inspiration. So that it is sort of the divine child expressing itself through you and your gifts, whatever that is, whether they're extremely practical, extremely creative, or somewhere in the middle. So coming from source is this unmanifested realm of existence, and there's so much spaciousness and beingness in this place. And then there's this animal beast with all this testosterone, and its prime purpose in life is to survive. And he who gets the worm first, the early bird, gets the prize. And so there's an element of wanting to rush all the time to make sure you've got your needs met. So somewhere in the middle between this being of spaciousness and this rushing survival, we meet in the middle of our hearts, which is finding harmony between the two, where we could share our gifts with ourselves and others. So happy spring or autumn equinox, wherever you are in the world. Blessings be, and namaste.